The 62nd plenary meeting of the General Assembly is called to order. The General Assembly will consider Agenda Item 119, entitled, and I quote, Commemoration of the Abolition of Slavery and the Transatlantic Slave Trade, end of quote, and in accordance with Resolution 73/345 of 16 September 2019, hold a commemorative meeting on the occasion of the International Day of Remembrance of the victims of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the transatlantic slave trade stands as one of the darkest chapters in human history. Over a span of 400 years, between 25 and 30 million people were forcibly uprooted, shackled, and transported from Africa to the Caribbean and the Americas. Many did not survive the journey. Men and women and children were separated from their families, stripped of their identities, and robbed of their freedom. They and their descendants endured generations of brutal servitude enforced by the lash of the whip. On the International Day of Remembrance of the victims of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade, we recall this history and confront its legacy. And we reflect on the moral urgency of dismantling that legacy. We commit to laying the foundations for a more just future, one built upon respect for human dignity and human rights. Excellencies, the transatlantic slave trade and slavery itself have been formally abolished. And through waves of decolonization, the nations of Africa reclaimed their sovereignty and the right to chart their own destinies. Yet the stains of injustice are not easily erased. They persist in policies and institutions that perpetuate systemic racism and oppression against people of African descent. Oppression that manifests in segregation, apartheid, and entrenched socioeconomic disparities. We must tear down these structures of inequality. We must strengthen and enforce laws that promote equity in housing, employment, healthcare, education, and criminal justice. We must implement policies that not only acknowledge historical injustices, but rectify them and uphold the dignity and rights of people of African descent. And we must address the socioeconomic disparities rooted in the exploitation of enslaved peoples by ensuring equitable access to resources and opportunities. In all our efforts, we must remain mindful of history. The Durban Declaration and Program of Action establishes that the past, the present, and future are inextricably linked. Slavery and the transatlantic slave trade did not occur in the distant past. The legacies remain starkly present. Education and remembrance are crucial to ensuring that we do not forget. We must integrate comprehensive histories of slavery and its aftermath into educational curricula worldwide. For an informed society is better equipped to challenge prejudice and foster empathy. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in December 2024, the General Assembly of the United Nations proclaimed the second International Decade for People of African Descent. This decade presents a crucial opportunity to confront the enduring legacies of enslavement and colonialism, to advance reparatory justice and ensure the enjoyment of full human rights and freedoms of people of African descent worldwide. It also aligns with the 38th African Union Summit held in Addis Ababa under the theme, and I quote, "Justice for Africans and people of African descent through reparations," end of quote. Furthermore, this year marks the 10th anniversary of the permanent memorial to honor the victims of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade known as the Arc of Return. The memorial stands as a solemn reminder of the legacy of the slave trade. It serves as a tool to raise awareness of the ongoing dangers of racism, prejudice, and the enduring consequences that continue to affect the descendants of its victims today. For far too long, communities impacted by historical injustice have awaited meaningful redress. The time has come to support initiatives that foster healing, whether through reparative measures, public acknowledgement, or community-driven projects aimed at reconciliation. The fight against the remnants of slavery must be global. It is only through collective action that we can build a world where dignity and justice prevail. We all must combat and eliminate narratives that perpetuate discrimination. We all must advocate for laws and policies that uphold human rights and dignity of all people everywhere. We all must work to build a future that universally upholds dignity and equality for everyone everywhere. We do this in tribute to Toussaint Louverture, Zumbi dos Palmares, Harriet Tubman, and Queen Zinga of Ndongo, for the countless others who stood against oppression and inspired abolitionist movements whose defiance paved the way for independence, equality, and freedom. We must honor their legacy by carrying forward their fight for justice. Let us move forward with this shared purpose, mindful of our global moral and historical responsibility to take meaningful action, to build a world where dignity, freedom, and equality are not just ideals, but lived realities for all. Let us do so with courage, conviction, and an unwavering commitment to human dignity and justice. Thank you.